I actually haven't been on YouTube for a little bit. Ooh, this is crooked. There you go. This is gonna be my cup that I feature in every video now. It is a bluey cup. I bought it specifically so I could drink water in these videos. The obsession I have with bluey is just unreal. I need to like finish all the episodes soon. Okay, so today we're gonna be talking about something that I mentioned recently with my cousin, was the story of how me and my dad reconnected. When I say reconnected, I mean like literally went from what I call the cold years and ignoring his phone calls to, being like friends, which, has been the biggest growth of my life. And like in terms of 2024, that year I reconnected with my dad in a way that I never knew was possible. 2023 I would have been like, sure, but like 2024, I just let it happen naturally. I never forced a thing, and I think my dad was the same way, super careful about how he interacted with me, just knowing our history. And the crazy part about all of this, hearing it now, like, oh, she never answered his cell phone calls, she never texted him back, blah blah blah, like it sounds pretty like drastic and like, oh my god, it must have been so bad, whatever the heck they went through. But truthfully, we never had like a full-on screaming match or a war, or like we never had anything, we never insulted each other. It was nothing like that, like when I'm imagining like these families breaking apart and like, or breaking apart, or whatever the situation may recall. But yeah, for us it was different. I feel like just since I was young, my parents really put in me this idea of honoring your parents. It's very biblical, it's very 10 commandments, it's very like, but it's ingrained, like it's ingrained in my body, it's ingrained in my spirit. Honoring your parents, respecting your parents. But as you get older and you live in this kind of world, the idea of kind of not cutting someone off, I mean, yes, cutting someone off exists, but this idea of, you don't owe anyone anything, blah, blah, just kind of like entered my mind, and just so much changed. But I'll tell you the journey, like just so you know how things started and how things went and how it got. It started basically, I mean, I'm not gonna go to childhood. When things really, really changed, I will say I was about 20 years old, 20, 21, around there. But things start when you're young. Things start when you're a kid. But forgetting all that and just focusing on this new thing, I have been living with my parents because, looking back, my dad wasn't really a big fan of me going to college physically. He wanted community college, he wanted me close. And when I was around 2021 is when I realized that was such a controlling thing. Truthfully, in my dad's heart, it was probably him looking at it like super scared, super worried about the person I'd become if I went to college, or I don't know, what would happen to me. He was just always finding negatives in the college choices that I have. This is all leading somewhere. He just always found something bad to say, something negative to say. Like I would invite him to tour schools with me and he had no compliments, like nothing good would leave his mouth. And I wouldn't call my dad a manipulative, I mean, truthfully, that might have been what it is. I'm a little sick, guys. Truthfully, that might have been what it was, but I never thought of him that way. I just knew my dad was a really religious person and a really strict person, and like that was important to him. And college and education is really important to me, and God is important to me as well. But I don't know, he freaked out, and as a human would, as a human with his mindset would. And so I stayed home, which ended up being good because you have to find the positives. I saved money. I went to college online. I did blended, but I also did college online, and I was about to graduate, or I did graduate, and things were good. And immediately upon graduating, I got an offer to work abroad at a school, and I was so excited about this. I was gonna it was a country I'd never visited before. It was a country where I didn't know the language, so I was excited to like learn a new culture, learn a new language. I was so excited. I was 22, I think, when I ended college. 22? I think I ended a little late. 22, turning 23, something like that. Yeah, I think. And I remember bringing this news up to my dad. And my mom, she's so supportive. She's so great. She was so supportive. I could tell she was sad because, you know, oh my God, she's leaving. But I remember telling my dad, and he exploded. And he was so negative and so hurtful in, you know, my capabilities, my understanding. He insulted my intelligence, basically saying I didn't know what I was doing and that this was not something. 'Cause truthfully, I received 2 offers, but both abroad, both different countries, both far away. But I had chosen this one, and I told him about this one. And his reaction had such an effect on me because my entire childhood was about keeping myself safe and basically surviving an environment where you have a parent who kind of flips back and forth between being this super goofy, comical guy in front of everyone else and being this tough love, disciplinary figure in the home, who used, you know, really harsh methods to get his discipline across. And I was subconsciously afraid of that, and I had been. But when he rejected this choice that I had made so strongly and so abruptly, and he knew she knew I was over 18, he knew that I can go do whatever I wanted, but I felt so paralyzed in that moment that I stayed and I cried, and but like I told my mom and my sister, who also knew about this, that it was better this way, that it was easier this way, and I didn't want to leave with him so angry, without the whatever the heck. That moment forward shifted something. And I think in hindsight, looking back, now that things are really good, in hindsight, looking back, it needed to be this way. I wasn't angry. Maybe I was subconsciously angry. I wasn't insulting. I wasn't crazy. You know, I wasn't suddenly this rebel child, but I was cold. I was cold, and I had resentment for sure. And I knew it all while happening, because I was like, yeah, I'm no longer engaging with you in the super happy, funny, bubbly survival way that I did before. I'm no longer looking for approval. I'm no longer looking for survival. In fact, the next time, the minute I can find a chance to get out of here, I'm going to. But I didn't act like it. I was just cold. So and what I mean by that is my dad would enter a room and I would immediately leave. If I heard my dad walking, I would go the other way. If my dad walked into a room and I was in the middle of laughing, I would stop. And if he talked to me, I answered, but I was just short answers, to the point, nothing giggly, nothing funny. I wouldn't tell him anything. It's not like I was sneaking out or doing anything crazy. Again, I was like 23 at this point. I was honest about everything, and I was chill, but I was just cold. That's truly it. Like, I wasn't suddenly in the streets or anything like that. I just was cold, and I think it really hurt my mom. I mean, I'm sure it hurt my dad too, but it hurt my mom more than anything, like, to see that. And my dad kind of knew. He had to know. He was like, you don't really hug me anymore, you know? Like, and I was like, oh. You know? I was like that, and it was just very, like, if you paid at least an inch of attention, it was very clear why. I didn't trust him anymore. I didn't confide in him. I had resentment. I felt like he had put a stop on my life and was trying to control me. And truthfully, he just cared. Like, he just loved me and blah, blah, blah. He was just going about it the wrong way. Truly, like, and I realized this has been my life. This man has been doing this forever. And I'm an adult. I have the power, truthfully. I can leave whenever I want. I can do whatever I want. I pay rent, so, I have responsibilities. I have my own car. I have all these things. And, once I had an offer to leave the house, I literally packed my bags and left without saying anything. And my dad caught me, like, right at the door. And he's like, I need to talk to you. And he talked to me basically the first time in a long time. Like, I'm saying this lasted probably 2 years of us being, like, to each other. There was a few things that happened in between, but we had this conversation where he was just upset that I was leaving. He didn't understand. He's like, I'm like, how do you not understand? How do you not understand? How do you not get it? We were both really civil. Civil as in nobody yelled, nobody did it. We weren't really like that. But I was like, you can think whatever you want to think. I'm not going to try to convince you of anything. It's not my job to convince you of anything. It was the first time I'd spoken to him like an adult, you know? Because my whole life I had been scared. I had talked to him like a little girl. I was just like, hey Bobby, like, do you want to do, like, what do you think of this? Or we could watch this movie, or I don't know. Like, there have been times where I've definitely put my foot down, but that was generally how I spoke to him because I didn't want to make that man angry. That man angry terrified me, truly. But I think he knew that I wasn't scared of him anymore, and he knew that there was a power balance, or things had shifted towards me, and he did not, his word was not law, and truthfully it hadn't been law for a long time. And yeah, I was like, yeah, there's really nothing you can say that's gonna, like, and I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just being super direct and clear. I'm leaving. There's nothing you can do or say to stop that from happening. So I left, and that was it. And I saw him on occasion. What, again, still super cold, just not super huggy. I'd smile and everything, but like nice, but basically like stranger. But I got the offer to move to Miami to work, and I was going. There was nothing in my way. At this point, I was 24, I think. And I told my parents literally 3 days before leaving. I sat them down. I brought my sister, and my sister's husband came as well. He's a friend. And I told them, I'm going to say this to them. Because I had given her a month. Like, she already knew for some time. But I'm like, I'm going to tell them 3 days before I leave. Because I don't want them to convince me. I don't want them to talk me out of it. Miami is still in the state of Florida. It's just like a 3-hour trip from where the small town where I grew up. And, it was a city. It was a whole new adventure, truthfully. And then I told them, I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. And I told them, like, hey, I want you to talk to you, blah, blah. I told them, and they looked at each other, and they clapped, and they cheered, and they said they were so happy for me. And that was the moment that I was like, oh, something has changed here. And my dad looked up the school, and he wished me well, and I could tell that they were scared/hurt, but they didn't show it, which meant the world to me, because I knew, I'm like, this is hard, but this doesn't mean you have to get angry or yell or try to stop me. It's just not right. And I think my dad learned that lesson, and he said, I was so impressed, and I think that was kind of the seed that was planted. And I left, and then I saw my parents maybe twice after that. I was in Miami for 8 months, and then as soon as 2024 hit, I could cry thinking about it. I moved into this apartment like a week before Christmas, and it was 2024, and I had my own apartment. However, when I left Miami, I knew I wasn't strong enough to move back in with my parents. I still felt like old behaviors, old things. Not enough had changed in those 8 months. I was ignoring my dad's phone calls. I didn't really talk to him. If he wanted to talk to me, he would have to ask my mom to ask me something. And they were trying to be helpful. Like if I got mail or if I needed anything, they would just let me know. But truthfully, I was self-sufficient where I was, which I'm so lucky for. But once 2024 hit, and I had this apartment, and I wanted to be close to home. I don't know why. I was like, I don't know where I want to go. I knew that if I went back home, it would be different, but it wouldn't be different enough. And so I had always wanted to live in this city. So I did. And it's kind of crazy, but I moved about 45 minutes from home, to a bigger city with, beach town and a lot of nice things that I didn't have in the city that I grew up. And I don't hate the city I grew up. I always say that. I didn't hate the city I grew up. I actually really loved it, especially as a kid. I think it was fun, lots of trees to climb. It was great for me. But it was too close. I couldn't do it. I needed more space. So I moved here. And it was great because my sister could visit me like twice a month. She could drive up, and it was eventually a couple of months before I invited my parents. I don't know how long. It was probably like 5 months or so while I got situated. I got furniture, I got a job, I got things started, I was living life here. Finally, like, I invited my parents, and I was excited, 'cause, I love my mom, but I was kind of like, excited for my dad to see me in a new light, as a person, as an adult, because I truly felt like the years I was living in that house, I was a little girl. And if I lived with them again, I would be a little girl. And again, I wasn't a rebellious person. I wasn't doing anything. So like, truly I was painting and coloring and reading and like, like I was so like chill. And I moved here. I didn't even mention like TikTok. Like once my dad had like, I rejected the offer to teach abroad, TikTok blew up for me. So yeah. So I was working on that too. It was kind of a good thing. But yeah, in 2024, they finally came over. And my dad, I remember he sat on this couch and I made them tea, and he just didn't know what to do. They just came over for like an hour or two. And like me and my mom talked a bunch. And my dad, I could tell he was like uncomfortable. He's like, oh my God, this is her space. But the way he was uncomfortable told me something. Like I don't know, maybe for the first time respected me. And it was changing his behavior. It was informing his decisions. And he was like, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do that? He didn't ask for anything. I offered everything. And he, made sure to be respectful of my space. And that's all I could ask for. So then I asked him questions, and yeah, I started inviting them over a little bit more. And eventually I asked for them to sleep over. So they came over, and it was getting a little uncomfortable for my dad. Not for me though. I was just like, you guys are my parents. But it was like he was meeting a new person, even though I haven't changed. But the respect thing, I think, is huge. Like I think he was getting to know me as an adult and realizing again that like I'm me, but I'm independent. And it was great. Like they had a great time, and we all had a great time together. And they've stayed over a couple times since. But the way me and my dad treat each other now is so warm and so, I think, full of joy. And we have conversations now. I'm trying not to cry because I didn't imagine that in 2020. Like, I didn't imagine that. It was the greatest gift 2024 could have given me. And I really have to give credit to my dad, because I think he did all the heavy lifting there, or most of it. But all I did was be open. I'm open to, I'm open to whatever you have to offer. And getting to know him. Because there was a time where I truly, I don't even know if I could tell you I truly cared what happened or befalled him. I was so absent from, I could play, being aware of him, and I could play being joyful and happy around him, but truthfully deep down I didn't have too much feeling there. And that's scary, because I wasn't mean, but I was still like, whoa. So for that to come is so huge and important to me, because I've always been a family person. So I truly remember the Christmas that I was able to bless my dad with something really important, and the way he immediately started crying and just apologized, which I never could have asked for, but I accepted. And the way that things have just blossomed ever since. I'm not saying things are perfect or things are always going to be perfect. He's still him and I'm still me. And, but that's what's the beauty of it too. We're still ourselves, but we've learned and we've changed and we've grown. But I have to give him credit. He's a person I really want to get to know now. And I think he grew so much from just dealing with me and I guess essentially I gave him a silent treatment for 2 years without truly, letting him know while living together in a house, like, which was probably really painful for him. But I think it was necessary at the end of the day. It really was. Like, you have to think about what it took to get him to say I'm sorry, which again, I wasn't asking for, but I'm so grateful for. And what it took to get him to the point where he felt like he could respect me and come at me in a different way. I'm not married. I don't have a husband, taking care of me and following me around in the world. So I'm out here kind of alone. And that can be really scary for a parent, especially a dad and a mom too. But my dad, like, I think he accepted me in a new way. There's still growth available and ways for me to go, but for the first time ever, my parents have been talking about a new home, which is insane. Like, I could cry thinking about it. Like, the house that they have now is not a place anyone should live. Like, and it's not bad, but it's just like it's falling down, and it needs more work than it's worth. And maybe that's not true, but maybe there's definitely life and potential there. But I think they deserve something new, something new. And that house has been there since 2001. It's time for a new place, and I'm excited about it. And I again, for the first time ever, I'm considering moving back in with them into my town that I love, and that I think my parents are getting older, and I am glad to love them in this new way, and get to be close to them, because that's not an opportunity for the rest of my siblings. And I've done this. I've learned something new also in the last couple of days as 2025 has started, that living alone is, I don't know if I want to keep doing it, because I've noticed the more time I spent with my family and the more times I would come back. This is super recent, because I've been living alone for 2 years. Yeah, like 2 years. And I've been living alone for 2 years, and it's been really great. But I think I've gotten to a point where I'm like sad coming back to an empty house. And I don't think a pet's gonna solve it. And I can call and text my family, and I'm really grateful for that. They always answer me. But I really want to come home to something now. And maybe that means I'm ready to get married, but like, truthfully, I really want to spend time with my family more. And I think this was such a good decision to like be close, but be far away enough that like there was distance and there was, respect there, boundaries. But yeah, I'm excited for this new year and what's gonna happen. God, I pray they get this new house. So that is life right now. But yeah, I just wanted to tell that story. I'm so like sinusy right now. I need to blow my nose, but Bluey, save me. I've been told I drink water weird. Okay. Bye. I don't know what I'm gonna title this video. I never know what I'm gonna title my videos. I'm gonna title it Homecoming? I don't know. Nah. I don't know. I'll figure it out.